Hi everyone, I'm Refilwe Hlaviwa from the National Film and Video Foundation. I'm one of the production and development managers. I am with the 2019 cohort of the Youth Filmmaker Project. Everyone's completed their projects and a lot of them are screening on SABC One right now, and on Wednesdays at 7:30 to 8 o'clock. So well done to everybody, on
Yay.
the wonderful achievement. I'm just going to be speaking to some of the writers and the directors of the films, just so that they can give us give us some insights in terms of what the films are about and how the process on the program was. Raymond Motodi, I'd like to start with you. You are the writer of Feminine Lotus. Can you just give us
Yes.
a brief background about who you are, and then just maybe go straight into what the film's about?
Okay. My name is Raymond Motadi. I am, a writer and a performing arts graduate and a queer activist. I fell in love with writing from a very young age, and I've always wanted to explore this avenue of storytelling. So for me, Feminine Lotus is a story about a depressed and insecure trans girl who gets outcasted by her parents and moves to Johannesburg to live with a very homophobic and transphobic sister. And she goes through a journey where she finds love, and she's jolted by the idea of love and has to explore that. And basically in the film, what I'm trying to say is that the true love knows no gender. And in the way in which the film was constructed, I wrote it in a way in which it showcased that trans women deserve love as well.
Okay. So how did you find the experience on the program?
The experience on the program was challenging. I feel like that the time that we were given was really, 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 really quite challenging to be able to put these projects together in the time frame that we had. There was a whole lot of pressure that came with that, and I think I tried everything in my power to ensure that I get to be through the whole process and tried as much as I can to be on set. But I think the program essentially was really quite great in the fact that we got great mentorship. And I was very, very, very happy with the mentor that we got facilitating the whole entire program, because he really understood my story and what I was trying to do.
Okay. Overall, it sounds like it was a positive step for your career. Well done. The film is really, really amazing. I think you guys got a really amazing cast who was able to, portray, the story quite well. It was really quite emotionally gripping.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So now I'll be speaking to the director of the film, Samson, Thabo Afihlile. Can you please just give us like a brief intro about yourself, your background, and then just, give us insights about the film?
Yeah, hi. Thank you for having me, Refilwe. As you said, my name is Thabo Afihlile. I was born and bred in Soweto, but I had the great opportunity to stay in different parts of our country, particularly the Northwest and a couple of other townships in Soweto. I mean, in Gauteng. The process of Samson, oh wow, it was actually a fantastic one. I think just a quick brief. Samson is a film about a rural farm boxer who, out of the pressure of wanting to prove his own manhood, accidentally cuts off his penis and then finds himself going through life trying to figure out what does it mean to be a man, and does his penis make him a man, and what particular things actually make him a man. And through all of that, he wrestles with himself, particularly internally and externally.
Nice. And what did you learn, I guess, about masculinity? In terms, did it help you demystify some of the thoughts that you had about masculinity when you went in to direct the film?
Well, looking at the subject itself, it's a very sensitive subject, particularly concerning what's happening in our environment. So you know, and when I worked close with the writer in terms of developing the script even further, you know, there were subjects that we were looking into that we, you know, that you wanted to echo out even more. And I think subjects such as love, subjects such as violence, you know, like physical violence, and subjects such as brotherhood, and you know, just these soft layers that mean, you know, that bring out the meaning of what manhood means to all of us. So in the process of all of that, I think one got to reflect, particularly, you know, to what manhood actually means. And I think I never really got to a sense of conclusion because of I felt that it's a journey that I'm still going to get to question this particular question for the rest of my life. And that's the same feel that you get in the film. You know, the film doesn't give you the sense of it completing or refail. It has that thing, or you can still feel that Samson has this journey that he's continuing with. You know, so I think that is what I actually got towards, and regards with manhood, that it's a journey. You know, it doesn't necessarily have a point of arrival to say this is what it is, or this is defined by culture or anything. I feel that it's a journey, and yeah, and, that's why we journeyed with Samson throughout his life, throughout that time of his life.
Okay, nice. Eloquently put.
Oh, yeah.
And then can you please just give us a sense of, you know, how you found the program?
The program.
From directing, writing, the workshops, everything.
Oh yeah, just to, you know, as I mentioned, I didn't say this at the beginning, but my background is that I'm an actor. I studied performing arts, so I've been doing this. I've been doing that for like 10 years. So I didn't really come across an opportunity of this kind of nature. Actually, I had initially applied the year before last year, and unfortunately didn't make it. You know, but I knew that this is something I really want to be part of. I want to make sure that I come back, and you know, that I definitely submit, and I was part of the entire thing. The workshops were quite informative, you know, I think from the whole writing aspect of things. And especially when I got to the directing. When I got to directing, I wasn't going to direct a script that I wrote. I was going to direct a script that was written by someone else. But the lessons that I learned from the previous workshop concerning writing helped me to bring out some of the best parts of, you know, that the writer, Tatu Kwena, wanted to bring out. So the same tools that, you know, that I used, they were the ones that were actually brought into the workshop. And I think that kind of made, or the point of my directing, the point of departure of my directing, a bit much more lighter, you know, because of I understood story. You know, that was the first thing that I was able to crack open, you know. And from there, when I now went into the directing workshops, I knew that there was particular moments and particular times in the story that I really wanted to focus in and get into. So it was more, the workshop was more about, you know, they gave me the tools that I actually really wanted, you know. And yeah, you know, we even had, I think we shot something like more 45 minutes instead of like 23 minutes. So we were going to shoot a feature film in the small limited time, because honestly, the time was very limited. But with whatever that we had, you know, I think we did our best with all of that. And I think it was not only me, but I think I had a crew. My actors came on. You know, they with whatever that we had, they did their best. You know, and I would say that just the experience of the other directors, you know, getting to meet them and getting to hear their ideas. We share conversations and phone calls, you know, in between the workshops, and that in itself brings out so much wealth of knowledge, you know. And I think that, you know, was what made the entire workshop experience, you know. Like I was talking, looking down, like mind is just in that memory lane, you know. And yeah, I think I would say that for the way things happened, I think it was great. I think the program is capable of shooting a feature film, not a 23 film. You can shoot something like 16 minutes. Even a drama series, you know. I think it felt like we were capable of that. And yeah, we should do more.
Okay, well done. The film really was, it was very layered. It did deal with quite sensitive topics, but it was done, you know, very well. It was quite nuanced, and I quite enjoyed the style of directing, especially in the fighting scenes. Very nicely stylized. So well done.
Sorry, I mean,
So
sorry,
I am.
we had rehearsed some of the fighting scenes prior to the
Okay.
shoot. Yeah. Unfortunately, by the time that we had to go and shoot some of the most juiciest fighting scenes, sunset was already going down, so we couldn't continue with that. But there was still more for those fighting scenes, yeah. Let me leave it there.
Okay, well done. Thanks. We'll chat to you a bit later on. Okay. Now we are going to move on to Florence Rapeo. Florence wrote the film Suela. Florence, can you maybe just give us a little bit of your background, where you're from, even what inspired the film, and then just give us a summary of what this film is about.
All right. Hi, Refilwe. Thank you for the invitation. Hi, fellow writers, directors. Florence Mashadi Rabeu ke ngwanyana kwa Hammanskraal, born and bred there. I actually studied journalism, and last year I decided to pursue a passion in script writing because it's what I've been wanting to do, but I didn't really know how to do it. It was so complicated. It seemed so complicated. So a friend sent me an ad, the NFVF program, and I submitted, didn't think much of it, and was invited to pitch, and from pitching and then into the workshop and then all of that. So that's really my intro into this industry. Although it doesn't feel like I've really been in the industry, it feels like I'm still outside the gate, still trying to get in. Weird, but yeah, that's how it feels. But that's been an introduction into script writing, into the world of TV, filmmaking, and all of that. And my story is about the complex and very toxic relationships between mothers and daughters, and especially when you look at like the rates, femicide and gender-based violence and all of that. So the film Suela explores how two generations are affected by abuse. So it's about Suela, an amazing journalist, not based on my story. Okay. So it's based on Suela, a journalist who is also battling an alcohol problem, and she's masking her messy life with the fact that she's a higher achiever who's doing really well, cracking the biggest cases in the country. Her life is turned upside down really when her mother, whom she has not been in contact with for years, shows up. Suela, please take care of me, I'm sick. And she really has to make a choice. Or does she help her mother in her time of need, or does she really inflict revenge in her? Because I think most of us would be tempted. Do I revenge what you did to me and all of that? So she struggles with those two decisions: forgive and take care of you, or give you what you gave me, So eventually things take a turn when she learns that actually her mother is also a victim of abuse. Now, it obviously changes how she views her mother and also how she views her life, because she's able to see that even though their situations might have been different, they're actually very similar. So she's able to have that sympathy for her mother and also make decisions that will really give her life feeling her it has peace and really free from alcohol abuse. So those are the kind of stories that I'm interested in, because our mothers, I've realized, they have a very deep effect on who we are as people. And it can be a very good effect or a very bad one. And your mother doesn't even have to abuse you or say nasty things. Even your mother just not talking to you, it can lead to so many other issues. And those are the kind of stories that I'm interested in. It's the subtle toxicities man, that exist between family members, especially between mothers and their daughters. So that's really what Suela is about.
Okay. And what inspired you to tell this particular narrative?
So the story was a while ago, like 10 years ago, I went on a journey with my mother. We went to a place called Bochum. It's so far in Limpopo. It's so far, but it was just me and her. The journey was so beautiful. And when writing this story, I was inspired by that journey between a mother and a daughter. I mean, obviously, she was my mother was amazing, even though she's passed on, but she was an amazing woman. But for someone else, that road trip might not be as beautiful as mine was with my own mother. So that was inspired by that moment of taking that road trip with her. I was like, man, this woman, we're driving through these places, eating at these shoddy places, and it was beautiful. So that's really where the inspiration came from. But I said, but what if now my mother is actually a mean person and she's actually dying? What would I do if I had to take care of her? Do I say, no, I don't want you, someone else must take care of you? Or do I say, okay, let me be the bigger person and take care of you? That's really where the inspiration came from. It came from that simple moment with a road trip with my mother.
All right, thanks. And then how did you find the overall program? Especially because this kind of launched you into film industry. So it was, I guess, baptism by fire, but
listen, girl. So it was interesting. It was very, very, very interesting. But I will say we had the best mentor. I mean, Tuso CBC was, my word, he was harsh, but he was really, really amazing. I mean, that week, I think Raymond, you also said, like, that week was very short and we had to get our stories in order. And at some point, so I'm like, what is this story about? I remember I had 3 notes and it just didn't make any sense. But, he helped us to really shape and structure our stories. So from the program, I really appreciate meeting Tuso, because he really, that whole week, and he was so passionate about helping us. It didn't matter, okay, he could stay on later, even he was there early. And look at WhatsApp, you could actually talk to him and he could guide you even by email. He was very responsive. So I appreciate the fact that we could meet an expert in the industry who knew and was very passionate about our stories. Our stories were very different, but there was never a Marana stories also bora. There was never any of that. He was into our stories, like so invested. So out of the experience, I still remember some of the things that he taught us. That okay, the MTPs, multiple turning points, which I didn't even know about, log line, premise, and all of those things, which I honestly did not know anything about those things. But I still remember what he taught us. And I'm so grateful for that. And obviously meeting, the lovely writers. I mean, I think we have longtime friends. I'd like to assume, I'd like to believe that they're my friends now. Yeah. So
industry friends were here.
Hey. Like, I'm so grateful for I was able to meet amazing people throughout the journey, and even today I'm still in contact with some of you guys. So I'm very grateful. The other stuff, obviously I'm so glad also that we went through the other challenges with the directors and all of that, because it exposed me to the nature of filmmaking, which is, it's not a very comfortable and warm environment. Like, you gotta run. Run, Papa, run. So I'm glad that I was able to have that experience. And I'm so grateful for Ian. I mean, Ian was amazing, like amazing. And even the previous director was amazing. So I'm grateful that I've had really awesome people along this journey. So the program was interesting. If you want to learn fast and hard, this is the way to go.
Awesome. You're well done. It was a very emotive film. I think we very much fall into the trap of, Happy Mother's Day, all of that,
Exactly.
glossed over, relationships, and they're not always great, not everyone.
Yeah.
Not everyone's cut out for it. So it was really, really, really great. And just to see, as you said, the kind of lasting impact that those interpersonal relationships, how they affect you and how they affect the relationships that you make throughout your life. If you don't have a strong, solid foundation at home. So well done. I think you really were able to, convey a very emotive story. Very few locations, very few, actors and actresses, but very, very powerful narrative. So well done to you and Ian.
Thank you, Filwe.
Okay, so now we'll be having a quick conversation with Ian Jonkers. He wrote the film Rent. He then directed Isambulo and directed Swela. So Ian, please just give us an introduction about yourself. And then maybe let's do like small little segments of each of the 3 films.
Okay, no problem. Hi, Refilia. Hi, my name is Ian Jonkers. I'm from East London, a little town somewhere there in the Eastern Cape with beautiful beaches. I'm not very versed in the film industry. I met a friend a few years ago who introduced me into a little bit of insight into filming, which I was intrigued from the word go. And a few years later, I left my job as a call center agent in pursuit of the dream with no expertise or anything, with a heart full of hope and a head full of ambition. And there I went. And now I'm here.
Nice, nice. Tell us a little bit about the process of writing the film Rent. What was that about?
Rent was my very first script that I ever wrote. My very first time I saw script writing software, my very first time in a script writing workshop. For me, it was basically a first for a lot of things because I knew that I wanted to make an impact in the film industry, but with the limited expertise and resources in the Eastern Cape, I didn't know what exactly it was I wanted to do yet, but I knew I had an eye and the creativity to do it.
Nice.
So when I entered the writing workshop, I thought writing was the thing that I wanted to do because I started with editing, but obviously to edit you need good footage, and to have good footage you need a plan, so you have to write something first. So I started writing poems and things to get my writing skills a bit better. So once I got there, I learned a lot in the writing workshop, learned in the directing workshop. Actually, from the writing workshop, they said if you want to direct your own film, you'll have a chance to, but you'll have to pitch for it. And if there's a better director that pitches for your film, they will get preference. So I didn't know anything about directing. I said, hey, this is opportunity. I might as well go for it. I'm excelling in what I know and what I taught myself. So let's give it a go and see what happens. And then it was a first for everything there as well. And I learned and picked up. Luckily, I noticed that I'm a quick learner and I could implement very quickly, and it helped me majorly.
Awesome. The synopsis for Rent. you took a little detour there, but it's fine. What is Rent about?
I took many details, Refill. With the synopsis that I originally sent, as they were saying in the writing workshop, it was hell. It was a week of pure hell. Every day you had to pitch your story, and every day Tuso ripped your story apart to little tiny teeny shreds. And every day we had to go back and rebuild and rebuild. And I don't know if he understood where, because I have never written a script or have no writing experience, I don't think Tuso wanted me to express my story the way I wanted to express it, because he wanted to teach us the fundamentals. So my story was a bit of a dream sequence and a bit of confusing to him and to the rest of the class as well. So on the very last day, I had to reconstruct my story from scratch, and that's the Rent that you're going to see at the end of August.
Okay. So for someone who hasn't heard, seen, knows anything about Rent, I mean, what would you summarize it as? It's a journey of this woman. What happens?
Yes. Oh, sorry, I just alluded to the whole question. Rent is about a divorcee, suicidal woman who has to challenge her thoughts to try and overcome her heartache. But in the process, she has to save a man that is dying, and in the process, has to find the will to save herself as well. But that's not giving too much away. So
Yeah, no, that's just
can
enough.
enjoy. Yeah.
That's just enough. And then can you give us a summary of Isambulo? What is that narrative about?
Isambulo is about a impressionable boy who learns about love through the domesticated violence in his home. So what he sees at home, he tries to express on his schoolgirl crush out outdoors in the streets, and the complicated situation that arises from that is what makes the film so great. Was that blowing my horn too early?
It's great. Have the masses seen it?
Go ahead, Ian. Blow it.
Hey, blowing my horn. Thank you, Donna.
And then can you please give us what your impression of Swela is when you basically read the script for the very first time?
With me being a director over Swela and Isambulo as well, the me being in the director's workshop and seeing everyone struggle to fix and craft their stories, and hey, it was hot, it was nerve-wracking and anxiety. You could see the anxiety on the writers' faces, and for me to not do justice to their stories would have been a total disservice as a director, and I would have wanted the same to have been done to my story. So the stories, I was there. So what I did was I discussed with the writers. We didn't have many discussions about the story, but I was there in the director's workshop, in the writer's workshop, so I understood the stories. We had a little discussion about what are the main points that make the story. And that's what I focused on, and I hope I delivered.
Okay. All right, thanks. So maybe can you just give us an overall, just in terms of your learnings on the program? Because I think you have given us like I guess a summary of what's happened, but I mean, what are your overall learnings? I think now that you've stepped back in terms of being in this process.
Yeah, I've learned like was it Flo who said that the the film industry is not very warm and welcoming to your feelings. So what I think I took out as a learning experience is you have to be very patient and calm and collective with your emotions with regard to how other people criticize your work and things, because people get very sensitive around certain things, and it they think with their emotions after that instead of logically. But from the directing point of view, it's as well, you have to be calm and story over everything, for writing and directing. That's what I've learned through the process. Whatever happens, your story is the most important through everything, and then the rest are just nitty gritty details that you have to be on the ball with every second of the day.
Okay. I mean, well done to you. I think the thread line through like most of these films, I mean, there is quite a degree of violence and different kinds of violence. With Rent, it's also like the violence within oneself in terms of like the emotions that you go through, having to basically pull yourself out of a slump, a sambulo is, I guess these things that you learn and what was the other one? Suela. It's also, I guess, interpersonal relationships. So I feel like you really did quite a stellar job in terms of conveying these various nuances. So well done to you. And it was probably really difficult, but I mean, I think you really were able to produce quite good work. We did not see that one was suffering because of the other, so well done to you, and I hope that this was
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, it definitely was. There was blood, sweat, and tears, and it was difficult having to bear. That's why I didn't have much conversations with the writers about their stories, because I had to split myself. And as a first timer, it was difficult because I don't have all the knowledge that everyone else has. So I have to do extra research, extra everything to just be on par with everyone else. So it was a difficult thing. And the violence in the films, the other two films, were also along the line of what interests me the most. It's human psychology and what makes people do what they do.
Yeah.
So everyone, like even Flo said, the relationship between the mother and the daughter and the generational abuse makes the people the way they are. So with me, it's just everything in general. What makes people do what they do, and people do weird things and all sorts of things. And as you said, the way learning, where you have to strengthen oneself, it's the only way to get yourself out of those situations. Because whoever hurt you or did whatever to you, you are the only one that will be able to get yourself out of that hurt and pain in that situation. And that's what I try and convey in my movie.
All right, thank you. Hi, so basically now I'll be speaking to Donna Sibande, who wrote and directed Lobola. Donna, can you please just give us a bit of a background in terms of, I guess, your experience in the industry and, where you're from, and then just take us through what Lobola is.
Hi, Refilwe, and my fellow NFVF youth filmmakers, colleagues. I'm Donna Sibande. I'm a scriptwriter by profession. My experience in the film industry, what I've learned so far, I started in around about 2011. What I learned is a lot of hard work, and it really requires convincing people that you are capable of doing things. It's a lot of perseverance as well, because you literally start from the bottom and you have to keep that perseverance to make it, all the way to the top. So that's what I've learned, is to be to get perseverance and hard work and diligence in anything and everything that you do. Things will bound to, come together. I was born in Witbank, Mpumalanga, sorry. My film is entitled Lobola. My film is about a young lady who's desperate for marriage and makes a decision to pay for her own Lobola. Basically, she goes through this journey where things start to unravel. She's left to deal with the consequences of her actions. It's a very emotional film as well. It speaks a lot to women. My film was targeted at women. My major theme in the story is about self-love, a lot of the times, as a woman myself, this is from my personal experiences, that I seek validation from other people, and I seek that love from other people. And in so doing, it can be very destructive. It can lead to self-destruction, that desperation of seeking validation and love from others. So the film was exploring that, because even in the end, my protagonist has to learn that love comes from within herself, and she needs to validate herself in order to find her happiness.
Nice. And what inspired this tale?
So my film was inspired by family and friends around me who I saw that they were finding it normal to give men money to pay for the lobola. And then it got me thinking, what's the worst that could happen if you give someone money to pay for your own lobola? And then that's what gave birth to the film Lobola. And then I just took it and I just went to town with that whole idea. And that's how the film got inspired.
Yeah. I mean, I think I remember from the time that you pitched until, you know, the actual final product of the film. I think you really did were able to quite I think you were quite articulate even from the start of it in terms of the film that you wanted to tell. So I think well done to you. So how was your process on the program?
My process on the program is I had to pitch. I applied. I went on the NFVF website and I saw a call out for young filmmakers who would like to write a story or have a story to tell. The theme, our theme for 2019, if I'm not mistaken, was about love.
Yeah.
So then I applied and I went to the NFVF locations and I had to pitch my story, which was very nerve-wracking because you only get 5 minutes to pitch your whole entire idea. But it was a great experience. I must say, it was hard, it was challenging, but definitely worth the while. It was so worth it. We had mentors as well during our program. A big shout out to Tuso and Adze. Tuso, everybody knows that he had written Hard to Get, the feature film, and Adze is a well-renowned director. Their support and their guidance was critical in accomplishing my film, and I'm so grateful to them and Triangular Post and NFVF for giving me the opportunity. I enjoyed it, including the challenges, including the hardships. I enjoyed it.
Okay, well done. I mean, I think the theme of self-love comes across very strongly. I think you were the one person whose 5-minute pitch and whose actual final film was the same thing. Because yeah, I think there's been a lot of transformation across all of the projects, but well done to you. I really hope that everyone receives the film very greatly. It was a very entertaining piece. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things about Lobola that we always ask ourselves, you know, in terms of is it still relevant in 2020? What it all means. So I think even with that storyline, there's a lot of nuance and a lot of things that you unpack there. So well done to you.
And before I forget, one challenge I found, thank you so much, Refilo, for that. One challenge that I found on set, which was a lot, was that, you know, when you get on set, especially if it's your first time shooting your own film, everybody has an idea of what your film should look like. You know, from the DOP to continuity to hair to makeup, everyone. So for me, that was my biggest challenge in finding a balance, in getting advice from the crew that have been doing it for like a long time, and also trying to stand firm in my story and not changing the direction in where I want my story to be and how to tell it. So that was also one of the things I forgot to mention about my challenges, it was finding a balance on set, which, yeah, by the third day, it was good. It was good.
Yeah, guys, thank you to everyone. Your films sound very exciting. I just wanted everyone to kind of direct questions to each other.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I had a question for Ray.
Yes.
Ray, I really enjoyed Feminine Lotus. It was it was nicely told. It was very elegant. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to know if it was an experience that you were familiar with, or you knew someone that went through a very similar experience.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'm a queer activist. I'm very, 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 very proactive in the queer community with my activism, and I've done a whole lot of work in the community. So when I was in university, I started an organization called Rainbow Kids, which was a peer-to-peer organization where we went around campuses educating people on queer identities. And from that experience, I got to meet, you know, other queer people, you know, trans experience and lesbian experience and gay experience, and we got to work together. And through that experience and there's different kinds of stories that I was hearing, I felt very compelled to tell the story because I just felt like, you know, I wanted to showcase the fact that like trans women, you know, deserve love. And That was really my kind of intent with the whole idea of the film, and that's what I wanted to make sure as well, because that's something that we rarely speak about in South Africa, in the South African context. And I felt that we needed to address that conversation so that it can be something that is educational and people can be able to see such stories brought to light, because we rarely see them. So I was honored in the aspect that my film got chosen, because in most cases people never give room for LGBTQI plus members to be able to tell their own stories in that regard. So I felt very compelled to share the story of Feminine Lotus.
Well done, Raymond. You are right. I mean, I think anytime that we do kind of delve into those topics, it's mostly male romances. I think they really are very, very, very few films that actually delve into trans lives and what that means and how to navigate those spaces in terms of, what is a typical relationship. So it was a really refreshing narrative. So well done to you, and I hope that people are receiving it well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Raymond,
Thank
I
you.
wanted to know, if you had the chance to direct it, besides the ending, what would you have done differently?
That's a very interesting question there, Ian. I really appreciate the fact that you just asked me that. I would have definitely preferred a much more positive ending, in a sense of, like, they end up into the sunset, or how it was written out, they end up on a roof. I would have preferred it that way, because trans women, for the longest time, they're the most vulnerable within the LGBTIQ plus community, and it's a very sensitive subject matter, and I felt like we needed to really make sure that if we're going to have that image broadcasted in that way, we need to make sure that it's a positive image, and that people are able to see that if I'm a little trans girl at home looking at that film, I can see that, like, I'm not alone, and that, like, somebody loves me, and that somebody can love me, and I can experience what love is like, and that there's nothing wrong with me. I think one thing as filmmakers, we should always be aware of the responsibility that we have, which is to really, bring certain conversations to light. And I think, it's about time that the NFVF kind of invested more in LGBTQI plus members of the community, because they rarely make it to these rooms where conversations are had on their behalf. And I definitely wish that I had the opportunity of directing my own film, because I felt as though that I would have been able to handle it in the way in which, with all the knowledge that I had, and the people that I've met that have experienced similar situations, that they would be able to kind of see that way through, because film is a very, very, very powerful medium,
Yeah, I think you would have made it more sensitive to the issues of what you would want to tell through the film. And I think for the sensitive issues in the film and what you're trying to bring across, I think the ending, if the guy came back and comforted her and told her, hey, doesn't matter what happened, I still love you, then that would have been a better ending to bring the story across.
Literally, Ian, and I felt like that would have been kind of like a bit more, because I mean, what, the reviews from people kept on asking me, people thought it was a series, or like, oh my gosh, is there going to be another thing, is somebody going to come back? And then it was an open-ended ending, because what you hear at the end is a knock, and then it leaves you feeling a bit confused, in a sense, like, oh, is somebody going to come back, is somebody going to talk to her, is somebody going to find out what's actually the matter, is everything okay, So I guess when you think about the larger audience aspect of South Africa, for somebody who's at home confused like that, they would want to see some kind of something that leaves a question mark in their own mind as to how. But I also felt like we have moved past that, because a lot of us have consumed American content. And we've seen so much over the years of how trans women have been depicted, and that's one thing that I really, really, really wanted to make sure that people see. Is like, for the longest time, people in film portrayed trans women in this idea that they're repulsive, or they're something that are not part of society, and they shouldn't belong in society. And I felt like, if I had really, really gotten the opportunity to direct my own film, I would have preferred that ending, because it would have had a much more positive impact. And especially considering the climate right now around trans lives, and being in tune with what's actually happening, I think it's very important to actually have a positive image out there. And I would have really preferred that part.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I think I would have liked to have seen a more personal connection through the movie with the main character. because to show more of her feelings and what she's going through, more in depth into her soul than instead of what's outer and the flashy, loud things.
Yes, Ian. That's definitely true. Yes. Because I think you know what, on the other side, on the other end, I mean, how I'd written it, the sister comes out with what happened, and then she goes on this journey. She finally stands up to her sister and realizes that, you know what, like, regardless of the things that I've been through, I've been outcasted by my family, I've been experiencing this kind of hurt. It's better for me to stand up for my own, for myself, and realize my own strength. So she stands up to her sister and she moves out, and then at the end she finds the guy, and the guy says to her, I wasn't angry at the fact that you lied. I wasn't angry at the fact of who you are. I was angry at the fact that you lied to me. You could have just told me, we would have still, carried on through, and in that way they forgive each other and they end up very happily together. And there's that idea of acceptance thing, which is something that I wanted to discuss.
Yeah, and the moral of honesty as well is there as well. If she was honest, maybe the guy wouldn't have minded. So it covers a lot of things which were actually left out in the film.
Yes, definitely. That's so
Yeah,
true.
I can understand why
That's so
you would
true.
have
And you
wanted
know what,
to
like,
direct. I would like to direct my own film as well.
Okay, so in this case, some of you guys were directing films that you didn't necessarily write, and in other cases, people wrote but then did not get the opportunity to then direct the final pieces that were the final products. So I think I just wanted to throw it out there, just in terms of whoever would like to start, how they found the process, and if there were any learnings just in terms of collaboration, because I think the one thing that it does prepare you for is that you may write something, but then when it gets to the director's table, it might be interpreted in a different way, but hopefully the essence of the film is still kept, So I think maybe let's have a conversation just around everyone in terms of how the collaboration worked, where there were challenges. Yeah.
I think
for me personally, look, my director and I had a really good relationship, in a sense that we contacted each other in the beginning, like, to talk about the film and what I wanted. And I was quite adamant about a lot of the things that I wanted to see. And he came very prepared with a presentation and showing me what he envisioned and what he see the visuals looking like. And I was quite impressed and taken by that level of preparation, and the fact that, like, he understands what my vision is. But also because of the time constraints of how everything kind of happened, I felt like, we didn't even have enough time to be able to discuss how I would have definitely liked my ending to be. But he was definitely a great person to work with, in a sense that he had the knowledge of the film industry, and he understood, the lighting aspect of it and what I was trying to kind of do. But at the same time, I felt like the only differences came when the ending was different. And that was kind of like my only thing that I thought could have been better. But I feel like even when people watched the film, there was a lot of positive review and positive feedback. But I felt like my intention was somehow in that part lost. So I would have really, really loved to have directed my own film, but it's okay. And it's also kind of prepared me to see what the industry structures are like and what do I want. And I think moving forward, I definitely you also want to make sure that you kind of work with people that really get you. And I think Khonsana in that regard got me, in a sense. And I hope that everything else going forward will be better for me in the industry as I go forward.
Florence, your opinion?
I didn't want to direct because I didn't understand what it was about. But having gone to the set, I knew for sure that I'm definitely not a director. I'll just stick to my lane of writing. And also, I think collaborating with a director it brings out another aspect of the story, because I've seen stories where if somebody writes, directs, produces, and does everything, there are things that lack in the story. I don't know what it is, but you can almost see that it's someone's vision from beginning to end. Whereas if you have other people collaborating with you on the project, they bring out certain things like, oh, I did not think of that. Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. And I actually liked that collaboration. But I also think it works when the director is also passionate about the kind of story and the themes that you are writing about. Because if that's not the case, you're really going to struggle. They're going to have a completely different idea. So I know for a fact that I don't want to direct. And I will say that because of that experience, I got an opportunity to write a movie for Mzansi Magic, and I knew then that I didn't want to. Thank you. And I knew that I did not want to be. Thank you. I knew that I did not want to be part of the directing process and all of that because I find it's too much for me. So I prefer it by myself if I sit and write. And then I'm done. Whatever happens with the script, it happens. And I'm so glad because through the NFVF program, I was able to see that the director can take it, make changes as they please, and that's absolutely fine. So even with this movie that I did for Mzansi Magic, I was already in that space that the director, after I'm done, it's her script now, and she decides what she wants to do with it. So there's that. I'll do my best, but I'm not attaching myself to the story in a sense that now I feel like it's my baby. And if they make changes, they're cutting off a limb, they're cutting off this and that, So I'm grateful for that experience. But yeah, now I know for sure where I fit in. And there are great writers and directors like Donna. Well done. But
thanks, girl. Thank you.
Yeah, but I know for sure for me, it's not for me. But yeah, overall great experience.
Awesome.
When we were done with the writing process, I was very excited to direct my own script because I got really good feedback about it. And when we got to the directing workshop, when I was selected, I was over the moon. When we got to the directing workshop, I had to pitch for my own film. My pitch was the worst film, and I lost out on my own film. And it was a big learning curve for me because I was flying high and I thought, hey, I'm just going to slide into it and do my own film, which was not the case. So when I got given another film, I was on the receiving end of a writer that is going to have their film chopped and changed by a director as they please because the director has the editing rights. And as a director, I was going to be on the giving end of changing someone else's story by editing it the way I want to, because the director mentor said that all the stories are going to need work. So everyone had their stories changed, me included. It was heartbreaking to know that you won't have the final say over your own story because everyone was so attached to their stories. But learning that as a writer, that's your part of the film production process is a good thing to learn early on so that you know, because a lot of writers had ill feelings towards some of the directors because of what happened, but when they were explained that this is the process and how it works, they were more calm and accepting of what is happening. So I learned that in the beginning, and I think for any writer or director, it's good to learn that early off.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, guys. I mean, I think the challenge really with short film is that it is a slice of life. I think a lot of people, when they initially pitch the films, most of them were feature films. So, it is that constant weighing of what do I keep in, what do I leave out, and there will be certain things that are going to be left open-ended just because of the nature of what short films are. But I mean, I think the most important thing is making sure that the themes do come across, and that you do get certain conversations started, yeah, so I mean, I think well done to each and every one of you guys. You guys really kicked ass. I mean, you started off 2019 with art films, and then, at the end of it, you guys are all like filmmakers. So, I think, I know you guys are battered and bruised, but, I think well done to each and every one of you.
Thank you.
Any closing remarks?
Well done to you guys.
One thought from each of you, and then we can close this up.
Yeah, no, I just think, you know, I thank you so much for the opportunity. May it lead to more doors, you know. And I think, you know, the NFVF needs to continue investing in young creators, you know. And I think what I'm also fighting for is like, please keep letting in more people of the LGBTIQ plus experience, because that we also need stories like that, more of that in society, because, you know, these are the realities of people and we exist. And I think it's important for us to ensure that we allow certain writers of that experience as well to be in the opportunity.
Ian.
Hello, yes.
Closing remarks.
All I'd like to say is thank you for the opportunity, for giving all of us the opportunity to be able to express ourselves and find out what we're made of in this industry. And I hope to see all of us grow bigger and brighter in the industry. That's all.
Yeah.
Well done, guys.
Yeah.
From my
Thabo?
side, thank you very much to you, the team, and everyone. And yeah, we're capable, we're ready. Got stories, got more stories that we want to present and bring forth to tell. So we miss being on set. Yeah, so the sooner we start pushing, the better, you know. So let's do this. Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean it's good that the you know the bug has bitten, and you know hopefully you guys. I mean, what's great is that now you guys are a big cohort, and you guys can tell films together. Like now, hopefully you guys will see feature film directed by all of you guys. So that's really awesome. Donna, last words, and then we are out.
My last words is for anybody who is considering entering or applying. There's never anything like a small project. It's small steps that lead to bigger things. So never be scared to take that leap, even if you may be feeling uncertain and feeling nerve-wracking about, I don't know if my story is good enough. I mean, take the leap, enter, apply, and like, look at us now, it's opened so many doors. So that's my final remarks. Go ahead, take the first step towards your dreams.
At risk.
Okay. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And yeah, hope everyone enjoys your films.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool.